What is going on, you guys? It's your boy, Existential Eggs and Bacon here, and we are back with, I believe, episode 136 of the video game therapy series. I am standing next to my newly erected penis tower that I made for the Let's Play series that hopefully be coming out in a couple days. Not that anyone's waiting on any of this or that it is consequential at all. I know it doesn't matter and no one cares, but it's still something for me to work on. Um, and I was even thinking just about shit that people are doing. It's almost like, because I've asked myself before, like, what question would I ask God, or if I was in hyperspace or something and could really interrogate the people that or the person or whoever is controlling whatever. What is it that I'm doing that is actually the important thing? Because it's not like I'm not like some people that don't do anything, right? I don't knowingly work a job that is meaningless. I just want to be, I'd love to know, like, for sure what my contribution to the world is, if anything, and or even be cathartic in some sense if they were like, yeah, nothing, like I've seen your life and you're just going to do nothing. But of course, like, that would also be kind of motivation to do something, and that's like what he would have to tell you in order for you to do something. It'd be a whole, like, swindler's trick to get you to, like, get off your ass and do something. But even more so, if it was easier just to be like, hey, this is the contribution that you're known for in terms of, like, your life. So just focus on this. Because I said before that I feel like these videos are important, and I know no one watches them. And I don't care if people watch them or not. And it's not like I hate the arguments where it's like, well, why are you posting them if you know no one's going to watch them? If you don't want people to watch them, then why are you posting them? I'm posting them because I think they're. It's good for me to have the facade of some kind of public persona. And you also never know. Sometimes I feel like there's a lot of stuff that people watch that's way worse than this. As bad as I think my commentary is, I don't expect it to be. I really have no quality control with this at all. So it's not like I'm saying that, like, people need to have a standard for artistic art. But because I certainly don't. Obviously with this. But regardless, I still feel like this at least can sometimes graze a thought-provoking topic, where some things people watch are simply so far and so devoid of anything that could ever be considered thoughtful at all, that I would still rank this stupid ass, whatever bullshit podcast by myself, above whatever the people are watching. Maybe reality TV in some sense, stuff falls in that. Which I kind of sympathize a little bit with this argument of, like, well, it's not like you're watching with people not to do, but there's just kind of an interesting, like, it's almost like a zoo aspect where somebody on reality TV is almost just like they're living in a human zoo, right? Like, they themselves are kind of this spectacle of, like, how did you exist? How do you exist? This person, this person's real, and that, like, and the biggest question for me, always in any of these, which again is never really that complicated of question, but, like, how do you get the money to do this stupid ass shit? I feel like there's lots of people that just, like, are barely making it work and aren't complete idiots, right? And they just don't really they were never given this elaborate network of resources and support to be able to do the stupid shit that you have. And I just like, in general, people that end up adopting, what I'll just call dumbass hobbies. I don't know, dressing up like a baby, or collecting Legos or something. All that comes with, and I'm not going to use the word privilege because I feel like that is wrong. But it's just somehow it's like there had to have been someone somewhere that actually had to work for that, right? That surely it's not like, our society isn't so well off that it can actually afford that level of retarded behavior. I feel like there's people often kind of mistake that, where it's like, because reality TV shows exist, and people are, like, just wasting an inordinate amount of money doing quite literally the stupidest thing you could possibly imagine. That means that, like, oh, we're just so wealthy that, oh fuck, that we can afford to do this dumbass shit. Which I don't think I really don't think that's the case. Oh, no, get back here, you fucker. Uh, I feel like more of it's just more circumstantial on, like, those people and how they themselves somehow manage to get in this situation where they can afford to be a, I don't know, professional baby or something like that. Speaking of babies, I guess there is this topic of age regression that I think is both, I guess, concerning, but it's interesting in the sense that, like, why are people kind of seeming to regress in age? I've noticed, not that I'm Mr. Pop Science who's going to pull out a bunch of statistics, but if at the very least you can notice this as a kind of a as somebody that walks around the world, you can notice a few things. You don't have to be a you don't have to, oh, I've studied this, at Oxford. First of all, no one even cares about those people anyway. But regardless, walking around and just observing the world, I've noticed a lot of companies now that used to sell to children, may now realize that, okay, well, maybe a lot of children just are just broke as fuck and just don't have, the amount of disposable income that they have. The other thing about children now is that their needs are almost satisfied easier because crappy food is still cheap and crappy food. But in terms of entertainment, it's not like you have these, 4-year-olds gnawing at your ankles every time if you're a parent. You just put an iPad in front of them. That's like a one-time investment, and that thing is taken care of. That is like permanent opiates for a child. That thing is not. That thing you can lock that thing in a dungeon. It does not care. Like there's no amount of like all these annoying kids. There's a toy that will help us, quell their, curiosity. No, you just give them an iPad, and that thing is set for a long time. Which obviously I'm not in favor of iPads. I'm heavily against iPad kids. I think it's going to be, if the world does collapse, that will be one of the reasons why it does. If society really does kind of fall and it all crumbles down, one of the things we can point to, it's a whole Roman Empire collapse. It's like, what are the factors of the Roman Empire? It's like, well, it all kind of depends in retrospect and who you're talking to, yada yada yada. Well, I'll be certain in saying that at least one of the factors that went into is iPad babies, and that'll be like something that people study in school, if school even exists anymore. Which, increasingly it's kind of become even more pointless. I don't know, because you also see, I feel like I run into people that, and I've said this before, as somebody that, is quote unquote educated, the stupidest people I've ever met are kind of all these big proponents of academia. And I'm not saying that school itself is a completely meaningless thing. Like there are plenty of okay reasons to go to school. But to pretend like there's any, the correlation might exist, but I wouldn't even say that the correlation between going to school and being intelligent is strong. I would say there is a correlation, but would I say it's a strong correlation? Maybe. Maybe not, actually. I just think like people assume it's like, well, he's got a master's degree. The dumbest people I've ever met in my life have 10 letters next to their name. It doesn't matter. They're fucking stupid. And like in every conceivable way, trustworthiness, dependability, like I would not trust them to mow my grass. Like that's the level of stupid that they are. And yet these people, no, this little fucker. I want to kill this thing before it fucking... I should have done something a little less, nerve-wracking than fucking villagers. I hate them. Anyway, I'm gonna go blow up the Nether. I actually have to clean up these chests, but yeah, I don't really. Again, education is not. It has its place. I think I'm in favor of learning, but I think this traditional mode of education, just like the whole, I don't know, the institution of education. That might be the way to put it. The institution of education is almost fundamentally flawed at this point. And it's almost just like this old building that once was maybe like pretty good and like kind of served its purpose, but now it's just kind of crumbling and people are not, and the people that are claiming to revitalize this old building, I think most people are looking at the building and going, this thing is fucking collapsing. I don't want to get under this. It's going to go. Right. And they're kind of looking elsewhere. I think that's kind of the point now because I'm not all against, I'm not against reform. I think there is a possibility in certain things and situations where, reform is possible. But other times you just got to wipe the whole thing and start fresh. And I think with a lot of education, that's what you have to do. Is you just the building's going to fall. You just got to let it go. It's just not worth it. The amount of money you have to put in, and maybe that's the whole gimmick is like, all right, well, we have to, convince the next, group of investors to waste another $1 million to prop up this collapsing column. It's like, dude, just level the whole thing and start over. It's like, yeah, there's going to be some growing pains, but is it better than the pains we're already dealing with? Probably not. Like 90% of a teacher's job in today's day and age is just dealing with discipline-related issues. So these are people, just kids that are just, showing their penis to other classmates. It's like, what are you even supposed to do with that? Like, how can you even possibly get a group back thinking about math when Dylan just, ripped his pants off and is running around the classroom, and even with especially with the iPad babies, it's even more. It's like you're dealing with, almost like, drug abuse level withdrawals with some of these children. Like it's like you take their phone away, and it's literally like you are taking a heroin needle away from a user, right? Like they're going nuts. They're going absolutely back to probably not heroin. They're probably pretty chill in terms of drug users, but a crackhead or something, someone who's maybe more of a stim addict than than a downer, right? You take a stim addict's crack away, he's gonna he's gonna do a lot worse. And these are 10-year-olds with no developed, not even articulate. They have no developed sense of language or anything like that. It's not like they can swindle the crack out of you. It's like no. In this case, the crack is a cracked fucking iPhone, with porn on it or whatever. Which it's kind of most everything now is some different degree of porn. And I guess I got off this whole topic, started about age regression, ended up on education. Age regression as a whole is just companies that were originally designed and kind of catered towards children now kind of see that all right, most kids are like, fuck, they don't have any money, they're fried. Let's just kind of appeal to the nostalgia of adults. And then you have kids that are kind of doing this like kidulting thing, which I think I've actually brought up in an episode probably 10 or 15 episodes ago, the whole like kidulting phase. But, I think there's more meat there. There's always more meat. But, what else am I doing other than just pulling meat off of an empty bone? But I just think it's absolutely fucking bizarre. And there's not really any. The funniest part to me is people that try to justify their like weird fantasies and behaviors and things. Like, I think if you're over the age of, honestly, if you're over the age of 16 and you care about Harry Potter, you're weird. I don't know what else to say. There's not really an easier way to say that. And I'm sure that's maybe not popular to people. It's like there's nothing wrong with being 28 and going to a Harry Potter festival. Yeah, there is. I really think there is. I think that is strange, pathological, and immature behavior. And I'm not saying you can't be like a mature person with weird hobbies. And I know this also that comes off with like extreme irony, given that I'm playing Minecraft, which I will argue is actually a more sophisticated game than than caring about Harry Potter. But like, there's not any really element to. And here's I'll take a brief aside to actually justify why I'm not a baby for playing Minecraft and I'm still a grown man. Minecraft is not. There is an element. The element of fantasy is the fantasy of like pure autonomy, and I'm obviously someone that values autonomy a lot. The ability to make your own decisions, control your own destiny, do what you want to do. And the reason that I even like have any urge to play Minecraft is that increasingly, as Uncle Ted would have suggested and predicted, the world isn't really a place where, especially young people, get a lot of autonomy. A lot of times it's like, well, you got to go get a job and be told what to do for at least 20 years before you can even think about having an idea of your own. And by that point, you're probably so indoctrinated into our stupid beliefs that you're not even going to, your ideas will be the same as mine. They'll be just as bad. It's like, no, I think there's a certain, it's like, that to me is not an appealing at all. And the appeal of Minecraft and the reason that, again, my justification for still even not considering it, the same thing as liking Harry Potter is that in this, again, fantasy world, I get to have full creative autonomy. And I'm not like building, dragons and stuff like this. I guess I'm building stupid ass shit. But a lot of it is, somewhat technical things that I would like to do. So, for example, this stupid penis tower I made, this little redstone contraption in there. Like, if you had given me the option at some point to be like designing my own electrical system, my own computer, or being able to do any of that with, real physical hardware, I would love to do that stuff. The issue is there's actually no job that is reasonably attentive unless I'm 20 years already in the industry. No one's going to even trust me or allow me to do any kind of experimental tinkering. And the game of Minecraft allows me to do that kind of thing unperturbed from the bureaucracy of modern systems, which again is a very roundabout way of saying that I'm not a child for playing Minecraft. Still, I do think this can it can be an adult thing. But I think again, Harry Potter stuff like this is like in pure fantasy. It's not like it's really relevant to any kind of. I just don't think there's not a lot of it's like you're fixating on a made up story by somebody else, but then it's not like you're really adding any elements of your own. Like, this whole world is of my own creation and my own imagination and my own envisioning. Like, I guess you're like, you're writing fanfic or Harry Potter, which, is weird and sexual. There's no weird sexual element of Minecraft. I don't do any, this is all like, this is almost like, satisfying a technical fetish, if you can even call it that, right? It's like, what if I could engineer this system that would do that? And unfortunately, I get no ability to do that in the real world. It's not like I don't have 48,000 pounds of, power equipment to design a new elevator. I can't fucking do that. What am I supposed to do? Draw on a sheet of paper? I don't have anything physical to do with it. And I don't have the money to go out and buy, a business and experiment with it or a laboratory. And good luck actually getting into one of those places to let you do any kind of experiment. Best case scenario, you do a PhD and you're out in 40 years and you're still listening to some, the dean about whatever you should be studying, and you still don't get any autonomy of your own. So this is just really my way and my, only vector to be able to do whatever the fuck I want to do and be completely outside of, the system. Which I think there is kind of this growing, I've talked about before, like people having investment inside or investment outside of the system. And I think, and I'm predicting really, that more people will have more invested outside the system than they would inside the system, meaning that like you have more to gain from any said system or institution collapsing than you would from it existing in it continuing to exist really. Which is not to say that I think everything will collapse always. I just think in certain institutions and certain settings, more people have invested into the downfall. So, for example, like shut up. In education, I think maybe not yet, but in a certain near future, I think more people will have more invested outside of the traditional columns and silos of education than they would in the actual institution of education itself. Uh, and it's hard to say exactly how that comes to fruition. Like, is that everyone going to a Montessori school? Is everyone going to be homeschooled? I don't think homeschool is always a great idea either. There's certainly other options. Like, well, they can learn anything on the internet. It's like, unless you are a fucking cybersecurity genius and able to, create the Great Wall, the Great Firewall of your home, so your kid is not on Pornhub every day. Good luck actually, keeping your child disciplined and keeping them on task. Learning academic things. It's not like they're going to watch. Especially like the platforms aren't helping you. It's not like you watch 3 Vsauce videos and the next video is like some girl's tits. It's like, where do you even get that in terms of like, no, the algorithm just knows that you'll click on it. And that's like what children are going to fall for. So unless you really know how to harden a browser and harden against that, like your kid's going to be watching porn within 10 minutes. It's not really a fair fight. It's not like think about the amount of money and effort and energy put into those algorithms versus your 10-year-old's fucking dumbass like undeveloped critical thinking ability. Like, you really think he has like the principle and the power to like withstand all of that algorithmic might? Like, absolutely not. No, your kid is toast. So I just think it's like, for parents, it's going to be impossible to expect them to have like that level of, unless they're going to be either complete like tiger parents and their kids are going to hate them and they're like, just going to end up being, fuck the system because my dad was a dick and didn't let me watch porn. Or there's just not really a way that I think the kid comes out normal. Like, that kid's going to be fucked up. So I don't know. I think there has to be some alternative way to educate people en masse, besides whatever and maybe it's just like kind of a restart. We kind of start from the beginning, starts fine, then it takes a couple generations to degrade again. I don't know that we're going to shift entirely to like, a VR based kindergarten or whatever. I'm not even sure what else people are trying to pitch, but yeah, I just don't know that people have a ton invested in the current institutions of education. They're just not even that useful. It's not like, a degree can take you out of poverty. If anything, a degree is what puts you in poverty. Right? The amount of bullshit middle managers doing fake jobs that are now, kind of, tinkering with poverty because, they were sold this, this thing. And I don't even blame the kids all that, that much either. Like, if you're a young person that, went to a college and was told like this is the right thing to do, like you're going to make a good decision, it's investment in your future. You come out with, even like a half BS degree, like in economics or a marketing degree, and your only option is to sell soap or, porn ads. And it's like, well, do you sell out and sell porn ads, or, do you just say, well, fuck it, I'm just not going to use this degree? And then you'll go, you just wasted all your money. It's like, oh, idiot. It's like, oh, well, they're not really that stupid. That's all anyone was ever telling them to do. If you talk to anyone who was over 50, in 2001, literally everything was just like, you got to get your education, get a degree. Like, you're not going to go anywhere unless you're educated in college. Like, the reason I still work manual labor and I'm 60 is because I didn't go to college. And then now you go to college, you're like, you're an idiot. Why would you go to college? The college is worthless. They don't teach you anything. It's like, well, you were the fucking dickhead barking at me for 40 years about how I need to go to college. And then I go and you tell me it's worthless. I mean, and again, in hindsight, it is worthless. But how the fuck was I supposed to know that? It was not like, it's all hindsight. Hindsight's 2020. So it's not really, It's not really fair. So anyway, I just have more sympathy for that. As just people get duped, it's not all their fault. There has to be some that really was the whole sentiment, was just like, we got to go to college. You're not gonna get any kind of shitty job. You don't want to work construction like me. And the other thing with the people kidulting in general is just that people like the future. Like if you ask a Gen Z person or a young person, and I'm not talking about someone who's like kind of snuck in before the whole wall came down. It's almost COVID's almost a nice, like, great, like a red wall almost. uh, you know, the wall of COVID, where it's like, all right, after COVID, things really got bad. People got fucked up, and like the world kind of changed in, I'll say like irrevocable ways in terms of being terminally online, stuff like that. So if you got a regular job like before COVID and kind of am still like in the weird, like, boomer mindset where it's like, well, things will work out. You just gotta you got to put your head nose to the grindstone and you got to work for 30 years, get your 401k. It's like, I don't think they're going to be able to pay the 401ks, all that stuff back. I don't know why people would be that concerned with that. It's like, I think the more likely scenario is some fucking crazy hostile takeover of the government. I just don't know that, like, people are expecting, or people should be expecting, the same old, in 50 years when they retire. Like, do they really expect things like, well, I went to school and I had kids? It's like, I don't know that the world's going to be that similar. I think if anything, we can notice the world is changing a lot, and it's going to change again. And the amount we're going to change, we don't know. So the only thing you should solve for is like resiliency. Is like, all right, the ability to just not die, to be like a little cockroach, and kind of find weird skills and ways to just not die. That's really all it is. It's like, how can I be, not to be conniving and be in that way, but I just mean like, to be conniving in terms of how you're figuring out how to make things work, without putting your head on the chopping block, kind of avoiding that. There's also ethical lines, and some people have just thrown those out. And to be honest, I used to really, and actually I still kind of do look down on people a lot that just kind of throw those things out the window. It's like, well, yeah, all right, I'm just gonna sell porn ads. I don't care. I'm done. I don't. I'm gonna engineer the porn algorithm to make sure we get, like, again, it's like, I know everyone has their certain little number that they would give, and I think I said mine was what, a year ago I said it was what, 25 million. I'll say fine, like, 30 million maybe. uh I could be talked for less depending on how long, but there's a number that everyone has. Be like, all right, fuck it, I'm selling out. This is it. Fuck all you guys. Yeah, I'm a piece of shit. Fuck you. Everyone has that kind of number. Anyone thinks that they'd be above that, I think is a little bit lying to people. But regardless, some people get that deal, but most people don't. And it's kind of up to the people that don't, like me, to look down on the people that do. It's like, fuck that guy because he took the deal. And it's not even like you're shaking somebody's hand. You're not. This is just kind of like, it's almost like the world kind of gives you this deal. It's like, right, if I don't know, as a joke, drop a alt-right song and it goes crazy, all of a sudden, like, I have an opportunity to pounce on that. Maybe many times I don't actually pounce on that, and it's like, well, I left something on the table. The time that I do, I end up, being a super popular grifter. Everyone loves me. I'm the best grifter around. It's like, all right, yeah, I fucking hate that guy, and I'm gonna say I still hate that guy, but to act like I don't understand that guy that's not fair, really, to say. It's like, of course you kind of get it. It's like, all right, well, he bit the carrot. He saw the carrot, he was dangling, and he bit it, and I don't really hate him for it, but you still have to, like, you can't excuse that behavior either. It's not like, and say, well, he's just doing what's best for him, man. It's just like, that's just what it is. You got some people got to do that. It's like, you still have to hate the guy. You can understand it, but you still have to hate the guy. It's like, I don't know. Zuckerberg's probably one fucking example. I could strangle that guy. I don't even care how much MMA training he's had. I'm large enough to where that guy's fucking toast. It would just be pure rage. There would be no skill or like, well, he's got the mechanics. I was like, I don't give a fuck. I outweigh him by like 60 pounds. I would break that guy's fucking neck. And the thing is, I also don't really understand why he, like, is still pushing on the gas pedal. Like, I understand originally, like the original big Facebook push. Like, why not just get acquired, sell it to some fucking big company? Yeah, you're a piece of shit, whatever. And then just quietly retreat, buy a homestead, buy a ranch, and get the fuck out of everybody. Why is it that you're still pushing? Like, do you still need friends on Facebook? Are you that much of a fucking loser? That's the funny thing. It's like, you imagine, Zuckerberg's, he's doing all this effort to bring Facebook to Africa or whatever, these places that don't have it, just so we can have what, more friends on Facebook? Seriously, why are you even doing that? Nobody, like, Africa doesn't need Facebook. they need water or food. Like, what the fuck? Well, don't bring the internet over there. You're making a, they have actual problems. They're dealing with the problems that we should be dealing with. Like, how do we get clean food, water? The thing is, we solved those problems. And we decided we wanted to invent newer, stupider problems that are even worse. Like nuclear bombs. Right? Great. Now we have something that can, with a press of a button, can kill everybody. Smart. That was real good. That was really smart to have evolved, out of the Stone Age to create that. Wonderful. Great job, guys. And it's like, all right, we got clean water. Boom. The internet and pornography. Not that those were like someone, did all that with the intention of it, but at some point, someone made a decision to do that, and now look where we are. Great. Now nobody can think, nobody can focus, no one can do anything. Everyone's just too busy watching porn. Great. Now you fucked that whole thing up. It's like, what else? What else do you have for people to just completely abolish their primal roots? It's like we're still the fucking monkey. I hate bringing up that argument too, because people are like, well, we're obviously not monkeys. We're clearly not monkeys. We're surely a lot closer to monkeys. Yes, we're more articulate than monkeys. But you look at some of these young kids, they're really not that much more articulate than monkeys. Seriously. I mean, they're whipping out their dicks every time. They're touching each other. I mean, some of these young kids, see these brain rot Gen Alpha kids, are really not that much more articulate than actual monkeys. And maybe that is the regression. Maybe we go back and in a few years, we are literally back to Ooga Booga. I don't know if you've heard some of the Gen Alpha slang, and not that I'm in with Gen Alpha. I'm certainly not. I am like probably still a boomer to them. Not that I'm old. I'm close to them in age, but I bet you I would feel like a boomer to them. I don't understand what the fuck they're saying. That means nothing to me. None of these mean anything. These aren't even like they're like sophisticated words. They're just like weird, like one or two word slang phrases that just kind of get vomited out, and then in some weird order. And I don't even think the person listening really understands it either. It's like, bro, shit, that no fam, no crazy, bro. And I don't, all right, that individually, those, I could make sense of those words, but like to call that a cohesive sentence that, says any more than like, wow, or something. It's like, you're not even really saying anything substantive. It's not like there's subtext to it. And I know there's like, all of these things have like deep lore. It's like, there's lore to the whole like, bruh, or like, fam. And those are obviously like, those are like boomer level Gen Alpha slangs. Now it's all like unk and stuff. And I know there's you can look into the ore of unk and see where it came from and the origins of unk and all of that. But I still think unk doesn't say that much. It's not like you're you're speaking in subtext with this. It's really not that. You're not saying anything that's that complicated. And it's not like these Gen Alpha are communicating very complicated ideas. They're complicating like they're communicating like urges, right? It's like, yo, I'm horny or whatever is like essentially what it boils down to. But it's like a bunch of weird, TikTok references that end up saying like, yo, I'm kind of horny. It's like, all right, we can still just say that, but it's not like you're even saving time. It's not even like it's more efficient. I think that some people have made that argument where it's like, well, slang is all about like efficiency. But I think all of that, like all of the subtext about, unk and the history of all that is lost on the people that are being told this. I don't think if you ask any Gen Alpha, like they might be able to give you the epistemology of the word or the, not the epistemology, the etymology of the word. But it's not like they're really trying to appreciate any underlying subtext. And I think like millennial journalists that cover Gen Alpha slang really miss that part. It's not like the ideas that they're communicating are not that complicated, and they're arguably easier to communicate by just saying it like in regular boomer English, right? Which is almost what regular English is now. You almost can just call it boomer English because that's no one even speaks like that anymore. It's like that's kind of the I guess it's a funny way to think about it, but yeah, it's kind of boomer English and not anything that special. Anyway, I'm fluent in boomer English, and I'm probably only going to speak boomer English for the rest. I don't feel like learning a new language. Gen Alpha is just too much for me. But anyway, I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, with future. If you talk to anybody about the future, anyone in that age group, they're very. It's like it's not like they have no plan, but their plan is just like every plan they would have is completely fucked. So it's like, or it's so easy to like dunk on. So if like their plan was like, all right, I want to like, maybe study something and, try to get try to build rockets or something. Like, do you know how competitive it is to work at SpaceX? They're hiring only people with perfect SATs. It's like, all right, well, I'm probably not that smart, but, I guess I like fast food. It's like, well, actually, do you know that fast food is actually being automated and they have all these robots now that'll make the burgers. So you're not going to be able to make the burgers in 10 years when you graduate. It's like, all right, well, guess I can work at a toy shop. Well, toys are actually going out of business, and you can't work there anymore because they're also automating that too. And you're like, all right, well, what the fuck you want me to do? Nothing? What do you want me to say? What can I say to you that, like, what, you mean a real estate agent? You mean to sell real estate to people with more money than me? And I really think the only career that's really left is just like some different forms of scamming people, figuring out who has the money and then just taking it from them, and whatever they say they want, you just pretend to give to them so that you can take their money. It's not even about like providing a service or figuring out, what needs they have. Fuck their needs. Take their money. It doesn't matter how you get it. Just get it from them. I don't, it's almost like this weird wrestling. It's like, get it from them. Don't, like, they can't say no. Whatever it is, figure out a way to take their money from them, whether it's consensual or not, whether they're getting something or not, whether there's going to be no product or service. Like, those are gone. Product and services are fucking gone. There was products for a long time, the Industrial Revolution, whatever. Then there were services in the 2000s, internet age. Now even the services are gone. There's not even really, the service is just like, here, we will get your bank information to take your money. That's the service. There's no actual, we're going to do something for you that's being done. It's all, we're just going to tell you that something's going to happen. Or it's just all like, the services are all like psychic or spiritual in nature. It's like, we're going to help you become a more whole person. And they fucking slap you in the face and, squirt water in your eye. And they're like, all right, do you feel more whole and spiritual? They're like, yeah, I kind of do. It's like, all right, give me your money. Like that's almost like, and that's honestly a great fucking business. Sign me up. If you can convince some fucking idiot to give you water, and that's, to squirt water in their eye to give you money, then you got it. That's it. Win. That's a score. Put one on the books for you. That's how you do it right there. But it's just not like, some people aren't wired to do this, like, and I'm just very anti-sales in every sense of the word. I don't like ever being on either side of a transaction. It always feels manipulative because I always want to imagine that this person is self-sufficient enough to be able to do it themselves, or even what I can do for them, I'd want to treat them as a friend or as someone in my family and just do it for them for nothing, which is obviously not the way that businesses can work or should work. I'm not saying that I'm in the right here, but there's people like me that just aren't wired in the way where it's like, I'm ready to take someone's money. I've never woke up. There's never been a time in my life where I felt like I'm ready to take someone's money. Besides somebody stealing my wallet and then me wanting to beat them up, I could take my money back, but that's about it, right? Or just getting mad at some like giant lifeless institution that doesn't care and is just charging me extra on something. Then I could take someone's money, but it's not like it's any individual person's money. It's always just like a vague enterprise. Like I would take their money, as an abstraction. It's not like I can actually get their money in any reasonable way or any timely fashion. I'll take their money, but they're not, it's not easy to take them. But I think the way to get it is to find some kind of gig or scheme where you're face to face to the person with the money who can give you the money, and then you take it from them somehow. You get it, you wrestle it away or convince them of it or something. Smooth talking. I don't know. However you can do it. Anyway, people are not very. All this to say, people are not very bullish on their futures, and why should they? So I think part of what they, their I would call it a coping strategy, but you can just call it like their strategy of life, is to kind of then regress and like, I'll just be a child for as long as I can. And like, as long as I still like Harry Potter, I don't have to pay my taxes or like get a job or anything like that. And I'm not saying that it's, trivial to get a job. You can just walk outside and like, even fast food places like won't hire you if you have a college degree, which is hilarious. It's like, okay, well, what if I just like pretend I don't have one? Then like, that's kind of the move now, is to almost be less credentialed than you are. It's like you have a PhD, but you have to apply as if you were like a dropout. Like you need to commit a crime, get arrested for 6 months so that you have a criminal record, and then it's like, all right, now we'll hire you at the Waffle House. Which, by the way, I actually have Waffle House on my list, so I'm actually going to go right into Waffle House because this is an important aside. I have to assume you're familiar with Waffle House, but maybe there's some foreigners that's not watching. Waffle House is essentially what you'd imagine the quintessential American shit joint is. It's a small. They're all kind of this. They actually have the same layout. Like the kitchen is visible from wherever you're seated. They're always open 24 hours, and they have this like very robust index of what am I doing? I'm going the wrong way. This very robust like they're always open no matter what. Like if a Waffle House is closed near you, like there's a fucking hurricane coming or there's an earthquake, something is wrong, bad. Which I think is an awesome thing. The other thing with Waffle House is the only reason that anyone would go there. The reason you go to Waffle House is to see a fight. Like that's not coy, and everyone knows that. Like you go there because the people that they employ there are volatile people, and for good reason. They a lot of times are they work quickly. They truly do. Like someone that has strangled a woman to death and has spent 8 months in jail, who's looking to I guess get back in the groove of things by flipping, waffles or waffle iron makers and making eggs. That person's ready to go, but they're quick with their hands. They're good with, flipping eggs. But either way, at Waffle House, they make, and this is an opinionated topic, so I don't expect everyone to agree with this, but they make excellent scrambled eggs with cheese. So it's just like the plastic orange cheese. Like it's not like they have some kind of high quality cheese. They don't. I'm not pretending they do. I know it's crap. It's fine, but it's delicious. I think those. So here's my Waffle House order. It's quite simple: 2 eggs scrambled with cheese, 2 eggs over easy, 2 orders of bacon, and a coffee. You get one of those. It only runs you like $15 because most of the time they don't bother to charge you for everything. It's like, oh, you want the whole all-star meal? Like, no, I don't want the whole all-star meal. I just want the eggs and the 2 sides of bacon. Sometimes they only charge you for 1 side of bacon. They give you 2. Sometimes they don't know how to charge you for the eggs, or they don't charge you for the cheese, or they forget the coffee because it's an afterthought after they've put together the rest of the order. So it ends up being like $15. You go in there, maybe you see a fight, and and you get a good breakfast. It doesn't even cost that much. The other thing with the fighting, which I think is hilarious, and there's probably a great like comedy bit here if I really wanted to build on that. It's a modern day gladiator arena. I mean, every weapon in there is within arm's reach. You have spatulas, you have eggs, you got ice, you got hot coffee. Can you imagine if you actually set up like a Hunger Games style or even just like an MMA style boxing ring in a Waffle House with like all of the trappings? They had the waffle makers. You can just rip one of those things off. You had the hot coffee. They're pouring hot coffee on people. There's an ice machine. There's obviously spatulas. And this is why Waffle House is the perfect place. And the other thing is it's not even like a glass divider. Like as a spectator of a Waffle House fight, you are in the action. Like you're right there. Like you could get hit with a stray egg. There's really anything can go there. And so it's like you're obviously taking a risk a little bit with seats that are that close. I prefer the bar seating that's right there. I don't like, the booths are a little too, it also feels weird to sit at a booth by yourself. And yeah, I'm a loser. I go to Waffle House by myself. But fine. People go to the movies by themselves. I'm going to Waffle House by myself. At least I'm getting a meal. But yeah, I go by myself and I feel weird taking up a full booth. That's for 4 people, not for 1. And I felt like a dick before taking up a whole booth by myself. And then a family comes in, all the booths are full, and I'm just sitting there eating, a bunch of eggs and bacon like a psycho, kind of waiting for a fight to happen. Which I'm not saying has happened often, but it's happened once. And that is enough for me to feel a little bit weird about sitting in the booth. So yeah, I sit at the bar seats, and I'm just kind of staring at them. And the other thing about the actual, function of it, they're quick workers. But then you can make eye contact with anyone that's working there. And it's not like you can see them like at IHOP or at somewhere else. They can just go sneak into the back and then they not help you or fuck off essentially. But Waffle House, they're all right there. So like it's not like you can't get help. There's like they employ like 10 people every time they're there. So it's just this absolute clusterfuck of people flipping eggs and coffee all over the place. But then like people are always kind of an arm's reach away to be like, hey, I need more coffee, or hey, I want this, or whatever. They're always like, we're just right there, ready to help, which I think is a great way to have set things up. And the other Waffle House is also everywhere. It's not like I think as like as a safe space. If I'm gonna use that word for a way that it's not intended, it's not intended to be this way. But to me, a safe space is where I can go somewhere on the road and just feel like, all right, like it used to be Sheetz for me. But after in recent times it's kind of developing. And I think now Waffle House is now my safe space. Just because it can feel like the home away from home. The layouts are all the same. I've noticed as I've gone to more Sheetz, the layouts do change a little bit more than I had thought originally. But to be honest, I haven't been in a Waffle House that isn't pretty much identical. Like there's almost the same number of seats, perfectly. And I almost think I looked at the receipt for the Waffle House, and I think there's the same. Like they printed out all these receipts, and I imagine it's like the seating is so similar across all Waffle House locations that they just need to print that one kind of ticket. It's not like they have to print a separate one if there's a larger Waffle House. I don't think there is, which I think just makes things easier and more standardized. Because the whole point of a safe space, away from you, is just like, all right, here's like, here's where I go just to be like get a taste of not even home. Like it's not even like people have homes anymore. I don't like if you ask me what I consider to be my home. I don't know. It's like I have a domicile, a place where I'm currently living, but do I like feel at home anywhere? It's like honestly, at fucking Waffle House. That kind of feels enough like home to me. I don't need much more of a home than that. And that's maybe that's the whole World Economic Forum's plan, is that I make Waffle House my temporary and permanent home. I actually live in a Waffle House. I can sleep under the coffee maker. Maybe that's the whole plan that they have. But there is a weird sense of home I get in a Waffle House, which I think is I don't know. It's great. I'm very pro Waffle House, and I'm. It's rare that I'm pro any business. I generally hate them all. I think everyone should do everything themselves. The only people I really think get all this right are like the Amish. They do it right, to be honest. Like they all kind of specialize into like one or two crafts, right? And like if you pay for something, you're paying for that craft, and that guy's fucking good because there's one of them, right? They're not like running around like trying to peddle bullshit things. I'm sure there have been people like people that go undercover in Amish. I mean, what a scumbag, right? The only good thing, the only good people left, the Amish, and sure, whatever, the religion's fake, who cares? Like they're doing it right. Like that's the way we're supposed to live, is that. Like that should be the model citizens right there. I bet you there has been some fucking venture capital private equity loser. It's like, well, we're missing out on, $10 million of economy from the Amish. I think the Amish are so base they can they see right through that shit. They don't they don't cut it. They're like, well, I'm doing that myself. Fuck you. Me and Jedediah are gonna put up our own shit. We don't need your fake block houses or whatever the fuck you're trying to sell me. At 20% interest rate. They don't do interest rates in fucking Amish country. Are you kidding me? Debt? That's just like I owe you one. I'll kill your sheep or I'll take your kid, which aren't even that expensive because you can you can have like 40 of them. They don't have birth control, so you put it in, you're getting one out. It's not that complicated. Anyway, I need to probably focus on the not dying here. Anyway, yeah, the Amish totally do it right. I'm jealous of them. But yeah, but in terms of a home, I think Waffle House is up there for me. I forgot what I was talking about with Waffle House. Maybe education or something, or the whole kid adulting thing. People, kind of regressing. So I guess as our homes are now morphed into Waffle Houses and people don't have anywhere else to live or just don't have any desire or interest in living because they've watched too much porn or whatever it is that has ruined any individual person at any given time. I think it is natural for people to be like, all right, well, what was a time where I did feel supported and comforted? It's like, all right, well, maybe when I was 14 and jerked off reading Harry Potter. And then that was kind of the beginning of this weird Harry Potter fetish, which I'm not justifying or saying that I've ever been horny playing Minecraft. I haven't. I'm very, very low libido on Minecraft. I will be very upfront about that. But, that kind of gives them some sense of catharsis and be like, all right, well, I felt normal. I felt like a young person. I felt like I had my life ahead of me. When I read those Harry Potter books, whatever, Hermione was hot in the movies, whatever it is that people kind of get off with that, they kind of take that and they run with it. And then they end up, they somehow land one of these mystery bullshit project manager jobs, despite being a horrible project manager, by the way. Because how can we have all these project managers, yet nothing can ever get finished on time? Like, what are you managing? And how are you so bad at it? So it's like one thing to be a fake, like to have a fake job, but to then be bad at a fake job is, even worse, right? At least be good at whatever bullshit you're, attempting, to pawn off as a real thing. But yeah, the last time they really did feel normal or at home was, at Harry Potter. So I think they get a speck of that back, and maybe they do just get a little bit of an itch of it back. But I think, the Potter adults, as they might well know, and Disney is even worse in this actually. I don't even know anyone that even grew up on Disney. Maybe it was the millennials that did. I certainly didn't. I don't even remember a single Disney movie that I watched. I know that like Snow White exists. I don't remember the plot. I didn't even see it. I might have saw Shrek at some point, but like, could I tell you who fucked who or who beat up who in Shrek? No, I couldn't. Maybe Shrek. I probably should have watched Shrek at some point. I know there's like a king in a castle and something. I don't know. It's not important. Something about the ogre. I don't know. There's too many. There's been too many Shrek memes too, so I feel like Shrek is kind of out in terms of I don't know that people are still getting horny over Shrek, but regardless, I'm at least trying to extend an olive branch to the Potter adults. But I still think it's, I can sympathize with something and still think it is awful, right? It's like, let's say I'm not going to pick pedophiles for that, but I'll pick, fine, I'll pick Ted Kaczynski. He's probably, someone that, rightfully gets a lot of hate for what he did or whatever. But to act like I can't sympathize a little bit with his views, have you read his manifesto? It's really not bad. It's well written, and if you could point to me any Gen Alpha kid that could write like that, or at least even think in any kind of abstract terms in the way he does, then I would be shocked and I would be impressed. I would sympathize to the extent of like, wow, okay, this person makes some good points, but not to the extent where it's like, all right, they shouldn't go to prison because they've said a few nice things. And that's kind of the whole silver lining. It's I can sympathize with anyone, but I can still think that you're fucking gross or you're weird or this is not normal, it's not good. So the same thing with Potter adults. I can sympathize with like the abstraction of why you're still fixated on Disney, but at 28 and childless, of course, that's kind of a given. You have a dog, probably Minnie or something. Uh, but regardless, I still think it's fucking weird, and I still think you have problems, and I still think until you stop going to Disney and stop making that your personality, you're going to continue to have problems. I can believe that while still sympathizing with why you think the way that you do. I can just still think it's wrong. You know, I don't know. It's coming from a guy that is playing Minecraft. I understand that, but I'm also doing this as therapy for me. So if you're judging me on this, I feel like I'm also not getting the Disney adult crowd. I feel like they really don't appreciate that people that I guess speak in the terse terms that I do. Anyway, I don't know. Let's move on to something else here. I guess the other thing that is kind of frustrating about the whole like career trajectories of younger people is that I'm kind of discounting like the new bullshit jobs from this. That's kind of a different skill set. Is like the ability to have corporate camouflage and to be a great bullshitter and to kind of sneak your way into things and just kind of sit there and rot while you're slowly suckling money out of a dying company. That's one thing. That takes a certain skill. I don't have that skill, but people have it, and no shame. But I mean, like the skills where you actually have to do something, like even like I don't know, a fucking dentist or something, or a doctor or HVAC. I don't know. I feel like it's increasingly now where we're dependent and we expect like the absolute best, only the best, always the best, and the best needs to be more universal and everyone needs to access to the absolute best. It's like there needs to be like, people need to accept, just kind of the average sometimes, right? Not everyone, because everyone can have can only have the best. Nobody can be like the 80th percentile at something, right? And even there's a lot of things that I would say I fit into the 80th percentile. I'm like 80% good at it, which hey, that's better than half. That's better than 80% of the people. That's pretty fucking good. But like that's not enough to be like the shit and like to actually make like a full living and be able to do everything you want. Like you can't be the 80%. And yes, there's probably exceptions, and maybe you are bad at what you do and still make money. Like, are you proud of that? Really? Thank you. I'll move on. Anyway, being 80% good at thing does not cut it anymore. You have to be like either the top 1% or don't ever fucking do it ever for any reason, because you're never going to make it. It's never worth it, right? Which I think is just kind of a shitty way to look at things. Like being 80% good at anything is worthless, right? It's like, oh, I can like, like maybe I'm a better cook than average. Like, well, fuck you. If you're not a good cook, you're going to be cooking at Waffle House, and you might as well be a felon to do that. You don't need to be. You need to be the bottom 20. So you're just kind of carving out like these middle. You need people that are like so horrible that people with no standards will have to accept the work that you do because they don't have a choice, or so good that the people will pay inordinate amount of money to get access to your skill set. And so not only like you don't. I think what you do with that is you miss out on like these critical development times where someone that might have had the potential to be in that top 1%, maybe only maxed out at 50 or 60 or 70 because they didn't really get the chance to be 60% good at something and still like make a living doing it, which I think is kind of my key point with this. Is like being like pretty damn good at something is becoming to be not enough. Like you have to be the absolute best, or you might as well suck at it. Like sure, you can still might get paid something to do it, but like you're not going to get paid anything good. Like we only want the best, so why would we pay you? You're like 80% good. That's not good enough. It's like it should be, right? If you're expecting everyone to be like the absolute best, that just doesn't work in terms of averages. And I know that does kind of push up the top. It like makes more people compete to be like the top, but at some point, what will happen is like you'll have people that are good at it, really, who can't compete, for other logistical reasons. And it's like a matter of like, all right, well, do I even have the amount of money to fund myself until I am the number one? I can't afford it. So now I'm out not because I was bad, but because I didn't have enough, runway to buy myself enough time until I was recognized as good. That's just kind of what it is. It's like, all right, I had to pivot to something else. And so you're losing out on a lot of talent that way. And I just don't think it's always worth it to be pushing out people that aren't the absolute best at things. Like there is kind of this like, I agree on a loose conceptual sense of like, good things, creating better things, like the competition between good things creating better things. But you need to have the existence of like mediocre things and things like in order for like good and great to exist, you need kind of average and shitty. But I worry that like average and shitty aren't really ever going to exist anymore because we're just pushing it out, and anything that is average or shitty. Like, can you imagine telling someone you do something on an average way, like, oh, you're like, I make an average salary. They're like, gross. Like they don't, average is like a slur, right? People like hate being called average. They're like, I'm not fucking average. Yeah, you are. Like in many things, like if we tallied everything up, again, length of your toenails, if we went granular enough, everyone would become average. At whatever it is that they do or they think that they do, or themselves, their physical body, their mind, you eventually boil down to being fucking average. And I think the shame in that is like, well, I can't be average. I would rather kill myself. Great, grab a gun, because that is what you are, and that's ultimately what everyone becomes, is fucking average. And a lot of times you can't help it. What pushes somebody from it. I don't know. It's just not always talents and things are not distributed equally, and you can't really always control for everything. So you kind of, I don't know. I'm in favor of kind of defending the existence of average things. We don't need to like elevate them. I don't want every doctor to be this average Joe. That's not at all what I'm advocating for. But the fact that like the top 1% doctor needs to make 85x what the average Joe doctor makes, I think is stupid. Like that multiple needs to be like 2 or 3. Right? So there's still an incentive, right? It's not like they get nothing out of being the best, but they don't need to be so good that no one else ever has to pick up a scalpel ever again. Like how much work does he expect to be having to do? It's like, I think that's also why we have so much upward pressure on people that are good at their jobs, is because they're not allowing other people who just like are good enough to get the job done to let them do any job. Because like, well, they're not as good as them, so I want the person who's better. It's like, do you need the person who's better? What do you do? Is this a knee operation? Fine. If it's like a dentist filling a crown, it's like, hey, stop going to the dentist or whatever. They're much of them are scam artists, but like, you just need someone who's good enough. I don't think you need top dog for this, right? Or not everyone deserves the absolute best of everything all the time. So I don't know. I think it's just a bit of a misnomer. But anyway, I'll wrap it up there for this time. Thanks for watching, and peace out.